And hello, everybody. I'm Terry Tuff, and welcome to Tuff Talk Live. We're excited to have you. Say hello to my producer, my sidekick, Champ. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, brother. Doing great. Glad to be along with you today.
We're glad to have you. You know, we got another great show today, but before we
Yeah.
get started, before I introduce my guest, and I got, my guest today is one of the, not only one of the greatest names in the comedy business, but he's just a personal friend. And, I'm happy to have him on the show. But before we introduce him, here's a word from our sponsor. We got to get that in. Hey, I'm Terry Tuff. Do you ever find yourself saying, I need more energy? I need to be more focused, or I just want to be happy? If that's the case, I got something just for you. It's called Happy Coffee. Oh, yes. Happy Coffee will help increase your energy, help increase your ability to focus, but most importantly, it will help make you feel happy. Happy Coffee uses natural ingredients along with nootropics that will help enhance your mood, it will help enhance your memory, and it will help make you feel happy. Happy Coffee, the new kid on the block. Happy Coffee will help energize your day, help you focus, and be more productive. Now, make sure you check with your doctor before you try Happy Coffee or any supplement. It's a brand new year. Try Happy Coffee because you deserve to be happy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Try
Yep.
Happy Coffee because you deserve to be happy. If you're interested in Happy Coffee, you see on the screen right there, you can find out more about it. Go to elevacity.com/Mr. Tuff. It's a drink that I enjoy. And it's just not coffee. They have tea. They have other supplements. So if you're interested, that's totally up to you. But we're excited about it. And so if you want to try it, please feel free to do that. Again, we got a great show today. I'm very excited about the brother that I'm about to introduce. He is responsible for so many successful comedy careers in this country. And so before I introduce him, check out this trailer or this clip. It'll tell you a lot about it.
Well, I grew up in a gang, man. Later on, I went to college, got my life together, got a job in corporate America, which was cool, except every once in a while, I would have a gang flashback. It was not cool, man. Turning a memo in spray paint. That was,
It's so cold in Chicago, it make illegal aliens turn themselves into immigration. I know my rights. You supposed to deport me.
Country people ain't trying to trip you up or nothing. If you don't understand a country song, you retarded.
I don't know anybody, man, who has a long career that didn't go to All Jokes Aside.
If you went over the roster, it would be a who's who of comedy.
Jamie Foxx,
Craig Robinson, J.B. Smooth, Bellamy, Earthquake,
Tommy Davis,
Adele,
Ari Spears.
Cedric the Entertainer.
Everybody who touched that stage got better by touching that stage.
It was the Motown of comedy.
A country club for comedy.
It was a comedy mecca.
It was a very classy establishment.
Whenever anybody asks me how I got my start, I don't hesitate to mention All Jokes.
What All Jokes Aside meant to the black comedian was opportunity.
you had to be black and funny and good at All Jokes.
All Jokes was a comedy club 7 days a week, 365 a year.
I'm busting people's heads with comedy.
The life expectancy of a black man is 65. What the hell am I paying Social Security for?
I remember how easy it was to sell tickets.
Lines around the block.
Turning away 100 people a night.
This is too good for them. This is too good for us. Something's gonna happen.
I wish I could tell you that I was surprised when my new neighbors were going to file a petition to keep me from getting my liquor license.
Wow, Ray, you just didn't pay off the right people.
When the club closed down, man, I was like, damn!
There'll never be another. All Jokes Aside. Hot stage, hot crowd, hot shows.
Am I going to open another All Jokes Aside? You never know. It's a funny business.
Raymond, if you come back, I have a new fee now, so we'll talk about it.
Enjoying this comedy, my friend.
Please welcome to Tuff Talk Live, the owner of All Jokes Aside, and just a great brother, my friend Ray Lambert. Ray,
Thank
welcome,
you,
man.
Ted. Good to see you,
Well,
man. Nice to meet you too, champ.
Welcome to the
Man,
show, Ray. I mean, when you see that trailer, when you see that clip, what goes through your mind, brother?
it was just so, I didn't, until we started that process for making that film, I had never really thought about everything in totality. So, because everything's
Hmm.
week to week. So I'm like, who's coming this week? Who's coming next week? I never put them all together to look at the roster and go, wow, like how lucky
Yeah.
was I even to have
Hmm.
this kind of, these kind of cats around, and what a wonderful time that was, and what a great period. I still don't
Yeah.
think it's been matched. I just don't, top to bottom.
Absolutely. And, I've told you this many times. There's never been another club on the level of All Jokes Aside. I worked all of the clubs, and I
Right,
worked definitely all of the black clubs. And there were some good clubs, don't get me wrong, but there
right.
was no club that was on the level of All Jokes Aside. It was so
Thank you.
professionally ran. I
Thank
mean, you
you.
received your plane ticket a week or two in advance. Who had ever
Right.
heard of that? I'm a black comedian, and who would ever, and my plane ticket shows up in my mailbox. I'm like, okay, they made a mistake or something. They didn't mean, you know. You get to the airport in Chicago, there's a car that picks you up, shoots you down the Expressway Kennedy, and then they take you to these condos called on the Grand Ohio.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
called the Grand Ohio,
Yeah, it
and
was.
they had an indoor basketball court, and I was like, this must be heaven, because I mean, it was incredible. And then you get to the comedy club, which was located at, and correct me if I'm wrong, located at 1000 South Wabash.
Yes,
Is
sir.
my memory? Yeah.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep.
And I have never, and I'm sure, Raymond, correct me, I may have worked All Jokes maybe 10 times in my,
Easily. Yeah.
yeah, easily, in Chicago and Detroit. I've
Yep.
never seen, every night was sold out.
Yeah.
Every night was sold out, and it was conducive for comedians. It was built for comedians. It was just an incredible club, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
It was special. And we tried to take everything serious. No matter what it
Yeah.
was we were doing, we wanted to pay attention to it and make sure we were doing it the best we could. That's just, that was just the approach.
Let me tell you who really took it serious was Mary. And Mary helped run the club, and Mary should have been a Marine. Was she in the military? Because Mary
No, but she had that kind of personality.
Oh yeah, she was no joke.
Yeah,
She, we worked at All Jokes, but she was no jokes. But but here I'm gonna say something now, and I
Okay.
love you. Okay.
Okay.
You
Yep.
know the relationship that I've had with you for
Sure.
many years
Yeah.
since the 90s. I look at that documentary, and I think about the work that I did
Yep.
at All Jokes Aside.
Right.
And I understand why you use the people that you use, because you're trying to market your documentary. But I would have loved to have just a little clip in there, or just hear you say, yeah. And we had people like Terry Tuff, and because we had I had awesome shows there. I mean, people like
Oh, no
Michael
question.
MJ used to come watch Michael Jordan and
Sure.
Juanita used to come watch me work at All Jokes,
Absolutely.
man. And it would have just my life would be comfortable now if I could have just had a little clip in that documentary, man.
Okay, well, two things. One, we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna solve that problem.
All right.
The challenge was I didn't really know what I was doing, so I was kind of following the guidance of these guys, these producers who were more experienced. It just so happens that one of them was a very Hollywood type, typical Hollywood producer. So it's always going back to, well, what stars you have. You see,
I know.
I was never impacted by that at All Jokes. I booked the best comedians that were available. That never was an issue for me. You know what I mean? So you or Tony Woods or Chris Charles or there's a host of cats who are just as funny as any of these guys that we call stars, and we approached it that way. The other thing was I never recorded any shows, so because I should have, because can you think of the archive that I would have, right?
Oh man, Yeah.
I didn't even want it in my hand because I respected your intellectual property to the extent that I didn't even want to have it.
I understand.
Which I didn't know that. So when we went back to get archival, they said, well, who you got that was here? And did they tape something that was here? And can we use that? I had to essentially use whatever I had. So that ended up making it almost impossible. So
I totally understand. And I understand the business of entertainment. I understand the business of marketing.
Yeah.
So I'm in a little way, I'm just messing with you, but
I get it.
Yeah, but honestly, I just feel like I'm part of that. I'm part of that,
Absolutely.
of that success because because I never, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I never had a bad show at All Jokes Aside. Never. It was when I stepped, they were ready for Terry Tuff when and so I'm telling you, it was just. But I'll tell you another thing about All Jokes that sometimes I'll get emotional about. I think about the relationships that I built at All Jokes Aside, the relationship that I had with Bernie Mac. I mean, that's where I met Bernie. Before he was Bernie Mac.
Absolutely.
That's where I met. George Wilborn, the stress reliever, that's just, you built so many relationships at that club, man, because of the quality of entertainers and the quality of that club. Sometimes I just sit and think, I have to pinch myself and say, okay, dude, were you really there?
It was special. That's why I want to do a family reunion, but we could talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I got something I want to show you. Let me tell you. I got something, and this will bring back some memory. Hold on, one moment.
He's been talking about this. I can't wait.
I don't even have one of those.
Can you see this right here, Ray? Am I in front of the camera?
Yes, sir.
Can you see that, Ray? You see that right there?
Yes,
you remember that? You remember that, Ray?
Yes, sir. I don't have that jacket. I got another one, but I don't have that one.
Yeah, you gave this to me. You gave me this jacket. I think it was the last time I worked there. And I think it was a comedy festival. You had a comedy.
Yep.
Remember you had a comedy festival?
Absolutely.
You gave it to me and you told me this, and I'll never forget. You said, Tuff, you're one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
And you gave me this jacket. And you didn't see me cry, but I was outside crying, But I mean, and I've had this jacket for 25 years, man.
Easy. Yeah.
I never wear it. It's always in with the collection of my other stuff that I have. But I just wanted I got to take it off now because it's hot as hell in here. I'm sweating like a black man on court day. But yeah, but I just wanted you to see that.
Man, I appreciate it.
What do you think about that, man? I kept that, man.
Whew, man, I remember that jacket, and we had a lot of merchandise. Merch sells now, but it was tough selling merchandise. But some of those things, when you see people wearing them and people keeping them, I even have people now, like customers, who say, I had my glasses from All Jokes. I saved them. I got them at home in the cabinet. And I'm like, wow, it just blows my mind when I hear that.
Yeah. And I guess the question that everybody, and John was asking me this earlier, Champ was asking me this earlier, why did All Jokes close? Well, I mean, why did we lose that club, man?
It was a multitude of things. One, the industry started changing, where you had cats were moving on, doing tours, doing theaters, doing stadiums, and comedy was on TV everywhere. So people started becoming more experts, quote unquote. So they started asking questions like, well, who's going to be there? What have I seen him on? I'll wait till he comes to Chicago theater. That became an issue. So then rent doubled in that area. Well, it was gentrifying when I came in. That changed quite a bit. Then we moved north and we had some issues with that. Cause I started thinking, cause I used to get calls from white comedians all the time.
I'm sure.
When can I come? I can do it, Ray. Give me a chance. And it's like, well, but I mean, you'd have to be phenomenal for me to give up somebody else's slot for you to come in here when, you had the Improv at that time, right up the street. But so I thought maybe I start booking the funniest cats, period. And we were underfunded. We were still relatively new business people when you think about it, because by the time those challenges start happening, I've only been in business 7 years, which is not really a long time. It sounds long, but not really. You start learning, and it just all that stuff sort of came together, and I was just like, man, it had its run. And
was there any intentions to? I know the rent. You say the rent was going. Was there intentions to move it somewhere else in Chicago? Were there opportunities to move it somewhere else?
It was. So we tried to move to what was quote unquote called River North, which is the entertainment district actually. So it was sort of like, okay, I'm gonna move up here because this is where all the tourists come. This is where it was only 1.5 miles, 2 miles from where All Jokes was.
Yeah.
So I can get the best of both worlds. Yeah. And then they protested me.
Really?
It was a whole uproar. They took me to court. It was crazy. It went on for 2 years. So what they do is they bleed you dry until you out of money, you out of time.
So let's be a little bit more specific. Who was they?
It was the neighborhood, the business community, and then once the business community, which were predominantly white people.
Yeah.
But when that community came out against you, then all the councilmen, then you lose all your support. And then the black councilmen are like, well, why were you moving over that way anyway? So we not helping you either. So it was like, it was a man without an island.
Yeah. So the white councilmen, the white people didn't want you there because you were black.
Right. They knew nothing about me.
Yeah. And the black people were mad, were like, you leaving up, I ain't helping you. You're on your own, man. I mean, so I can dig it, man. Because I remember, and I don't know if you remember, I remember you had franchise, you had opened up a location in Detroit.
Same thing happened in Detroit, really.
Really?
Yeah,
it was
same thing happened in Detroit,
Theater, right?
Detroit and DC. Same kind of issues.
And you and I were in talks to bring a franchise to North Carolina.
Because I went to Charlie Goodnight's.
Yeah. You and I were talking because we were going to bring an All Jokes to North Carolina, and it was almost came to fruition as well. It was very close.
Is that Charlie Goodnight still there? It was okay,
but it's in trouble right now. Well, it's not in trouble, champ. What's going to happen with Goodnight, champ?
There's a developer that's gonna purchase a space and turn it into apartments and retail. Goodnights might go somewhere else, but it's not going to be in that spot in probably a couple of years.
So it may be a good time to hit right now.
That was always the goal, was to do a chain. Bud Friedman was my sort of idol in the business. It was like because it makes sense when you can do that. When you can spread that cost, you can spread the talent. I can give you 20 dates right off the top, and we go through the year. And we just never were able to raise the funding and do what we needed to do. I didn't know how to do it really.
But now. And here's the thing, though. Here's the beauty of it, and this is just my opinion. All Jokes has not lost his brand at all. All Jokes, it still has that brand. It still has that zing. The younger generation may not be aware of it, but I think my generation is overlooked anyway.
Right.
And so I think it would, if you marketed it properly, I think it would be a prime time to bring it back. The financing is there now. Because here's why the financing is there, because it's a proven success.
Right.
You can sit down and say, hey, I know it works. Because ask Harvey, or ask Bernie's people, or ask DL. Does it work?
Sure. That's a good point. And you know what else is happening here? And I'm thinking about what that looks like. But one thing that really took me out was it was a young lady who, I want to say early 30s, that I was talking to about, because she's a PR marketing type around. I said, hey, listen, can you help me put a deck together? Because I want to think about putting this reunion. And she goes, I'm really excited to be working on this, because when I was a little kid, like 10, my mom used to go to All Jokes every Friday, and I used to be angry because I had to have a babysitter. So I'm like, whoa. So there's some of that too. You know what I mean? So I think you're right on that.
Yeah,
I
and for people who are listening and aren't familiar with All Jokes Aside was in Chicago, Illinois, in the late '80s, early '90s. What year did you
We
open
started
up?
in the early '90s. We started in '91.
'91, and it was a club before its time, believe me, and it was one of the premier black comedy clubs. Not only, and I don't really like to say that it was the greatest black comedy club. It was one of the greatest comedy clubs, period.
Thank you.
You know, I used to get bugged. It used to bug me a lot in the business when people would say, Terry's a great black comedian. And I used to say, well,
it bothers me too.
Don't marginalize me like that. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm ashamed of being a brother, because I love being black. But I'm a great comedian. And so that's the same way I felt about All Jokes Aside. Not only is it's a great comedy club. What do you feel about where is comedy today? Black comedy. Where is it at today, man?
So I think what has inspired me probably in the last couple of years locally, let me just say, I've seen some refreshingly funny young folks that I felt like maybe this is all the I don't even call it garbage, but all the nonsense sort of cleared out a little bit, you know, and I'm talking on stage. I still haven't figured out this whole YouTube, TikTok situation.
I haven't either. I don't think I ever will. Especially TikTok.
I can't really get that.
I mean, I may figure out YouTube, but TikTok, I'm confused as hell with that. I don't know what that is, man.
And I guess because I'm a snob in that way that I'm like, it might work here, but I don't know if you could get in front of 300 people and do 45 minutes.
That's exactly right.
I see a lot of that. I see a lot of the internet comedians, and then when I see them in a club, it's
it's not a good thing. Now, the other part of that is so my kids are 15 and 18, and it's like they want everything like that. So for them to sit down for 45 and watch something, that's going to be kind of like a new discovery for them. They don't sit down 45 for nothing. But I think you're right early on saying there's a group of people who would appreciate that. So I think, and then there's some people I see and I go, I just want to take them in the back and say, you know what, this would work, but you need to polish this off just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the hip hop influence sometimes that's like, I'm listening to them going, oh man.
Yeah. Well, here's what I see happening, and it's kind of like, I like to call it the Chappelle effect.
Okay.
Chappelle is educating a group of comedians that it is very important to write. It's very important to write comedy, and it's you don't have to. Your comedy doesn't have to deal with the most vulgar segments of society.
Right.
You can be a brother or a sister and write some intellectual comedy that's funny.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's that is and it is true. I've always said that great comedy is exaggerated truth.
Okay.
That's you take the truth and you stretch it a little bit, to get your fun out of it, to get your humor out of it. And I think nobody does that better than Dave Chappelle.
Sure.
So, people think, well, Dave just walks on stage and makes people laugh. No. Dave's in the lab. He's working in the lab 4 or 5 days a week, writing bits. And
I've got a great Dave story for you, which was he was like this close from getting booed at All Jokes.
I know.
Every night.
I know.
And it was like he started out 45. That's what he's supposed to do. But it was kind of going, he couldn't adjust it. So by the time he left, he was doing 20.
Yep.
I left him closing, but it was like a 20, 25 minute close. Right.
Tight 20.
You know what I mean?
Tight 20. Yep.
So he's been working. So
And here's the thing. Dave has the type of comedy that you have to acquire a taste for.
Yes.
And you got to understand from where Dave came.
Right.
Kind of like me. I mean, I built, and I'm not trying to put myself on Dave's level. I'm talking about how we built our shows. I built my shows in white clubs. I cut my teeth in white clubs.
Right.
You know, so did Chappelle. You know,
Right.
he cut his teeth in white clubs, and
Sure.
and there's good and bad in that.
Right.
You know, and so, but once you understand your game, you understand who your audience is and how to find them. I used to work with a cat named Bill Hicks.
I love
comedian.
Bill Hicks. It's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah. So Bill Hicks was, I don't want to say he was my mentor, but he was like my mentor.
Right.
You know, and when I first started out, he used to say, Terry Tuff, you're gonna be a funny brother, man, but you got to learn how to find your audience. You know, and I didn't quite understand what he was talking about. You know, I'm like, they're all here. They're, you know, and he's like, no, there's always 4 or 5 people in the audience who are really digging on you.
Right.
Work to them, and good comedy is like fire. It'll spread. You know, he's like, you know, he's like, find them 4 or 5 people, or maybe 2 people. You know, there might be 2 people right there that's just laughing at all your stuff. You know what I'm saying? And everybody else is just sitting there, but them 2 people are laughing. We'll work to them and watch it spread. You know, watch it. You know, it was some of the best advice that he ever gave me, man. He's like, do that and be fearless. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't worry about, you know, do comedy for yourself, Tuff.
He was brilliant.
Yeah, oh, he was, man.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
Man.
I used to leave when he came here. I would leave all jokes and go see him. He used to do the that was like maybe 2 years before he passed. Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't think. Funny Firm. That was the name of the place. Funny Firm.
Yeah.
And I go check him out. He was amazing.
Dude, I didn't even know he had passed. I was on an airplane going to Los Angeles from Houston. And you know how you read the inserts in the magazine, and it was saying, you know, Bill Hicks passed away last month, and I was like, "What? Bill Hicks passed away last?" You know. So I got to LA. I called his mother because I had met his family. Yeah, I had met his family. You know, people didn't know Bill was one of the coolest guys you ever want to meet in your life.
I can see that.
Yeah, the way he thought and wrote stuff was just totally different. But I just could not believe, you know, somebody that I knew like that had passed away, and I didn't know it. I was all so caught up into myself trying to. I hadn't even heard about it, but yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing. I still listen to some stuff.
What was your relationship with Bernie at the club? I mean, were you guys close, man? Bernie Mac, I miss that cat so much, man.
Definitely. So I always say, like, I wouldn't even done this if Bernie wasn't around. Like, because I felt like, just as a business person, thinking that, like, if Terry misses flight, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I got to have a strong local community that can get me through those tough periods, and to lead it. And he was the godfather then. So it was like, you know, he was the person. And I went to him. I said, listen, I'm thinking about doing this. Because sometimes I think, I'm not from Chicago. So sometimes I take an outsider to come in and see things a little bit differently than those who are real up close to it. So some comedians were, well, we don't know this dude. He ain't from here. We've been doing this 5 years, 7 years and trying to build something, but they didn't have the business acumen to do that part. You know what I mean? So I went to him and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. Can we work together? Now, I actually asked him to be the house MC, but he's like, nah, it's time for me to get out on the road and do my thing. Yeah. You should talk to George Wilborn. And that's how George and I sort of met together in that way. But yeah, he was the glue.
Yeah, because he was a legend in Chicago. A lot of people didn't know that.
Right there, he was already a legend.
And and as far as me missing the flight, dude, I'd have ran to Chicago. You know, I'm if I'd have been booked at all jokes and missed my flight, I'm gonna ride my bike. I'm gonna be there on time.
I had one flight missed in the whole almost 10 years.
Who was it? TK? Who missed?
Nope, not TK. Mike Epps.
Come on, Mike.
Mike Epps.
But Mike's from Chicago, so where was he coming from? He's
from Indianapolis.
He's from Indianapolis. Okay, yeah.
He was in New York.
Okay, I got you.
But he was struggling at that time.
But you know, I could see that though. There's 2 people I could see missing the flight: Mike Epps and Tony Woods. Tony Woods. When Tony gets there, he's funny, but you know, you might have, hey, Tony, where are you at, man? The show starts at 7 and you just now leaving the house. Come on, man. It's like, Shorty, I'm on my way, man.
Right.
Just give me, you know, it's like, but yeah, it's I gotta check in with my sponsor one more time.
Okay, sure.
When we come back, I want to talk about you got a book that's jumping, man. So we'll talk about your book. Be right back. Hey, I'm Terry Tuff. Do you ever find yourself saying, I need more energy, I need to be more focused, or I just want to be happy? If that's the case, I got something just for you. It's called Happy Coffee. Oh yes, Happy Coffee will help increase your energy, help increase your ability to focus, but most importantly, it will help make you feel happy. Happy Coffee uses natural ingredients along with nootropics that will help enhance your mood, it will help enhance your memory, and it will help make you feel happy. Happy Coffee, the new kid on the block. Happy Coffee will help energize your day, help you focus, and be more productive. Now, make sure you check with your doctor before you try Happy Coffee or any supplement. It's a brand new year. Try Happy Coffee because you deserve to be happy. Oh, yeah. Yes, you deserve to be happy. You know what I'm going to do, champ? You know, I'm going to do a commercial and play off the Mr. Rogers thing. You know, say, hey, boys and girls, have you tried Mr. Happy Coffee? You know,
make sure you have the sweater on.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll do a Cos commercial. Bill don't have, because he's not going to do any commercials anytime soon.
You just got to promise that there's no extra pills in that
coffee. We promise it won't make you sleepy. Okay, but Ray, and we're talking about Cosme. That's a good segue. Can you imagine? I mean, what do you think? The Cos, and he's still in jail. Everybody else is getting out. People aren't going to jail, you know, and he's still in jail.
I don't get it. I mean, well, you know, I don't know. I had to come to grips with, like, someone explained it this way to me to help me. It was like, you were in love with Dr. Huxtable. Yeah. And then there was Bill Cosby. Because I had heard those things that he was, like, hard to work with and he was an asshole kind of thing. Yep. Excuse my French, but off stage. But which, you know, that didn't surprise me. But he still was, you know, it's still Bill Cosby, you know.
Yeah. Well, so, I didn't, you know, there were all kinds of things you hear in Hollywood. When you spend time in Hollywood, you hear all kinds of things about everybody. But I had never heard that he was drugging anybody or anything like that. I just heard there were things that, you know, he's not what you think he is. People used to say things to you like, okay, he's not the Jello pudding guy. If you think he's the Jello pudding guy, he's, you know, that's some BS. That's a commercial. That's money, you know. But you know, as far as him sedating women, the thing that always bugged me with that, Ray, is I'm like, if he really did that, then he's really got some issues, because he's the cause. He could have had any woman that he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
What is that about?
Yeah, he's damn near a billionaire. What? Billionaires don't have to sedate women. They get any woman, you know, that they want. So if he was really doing that, you have to say, oh,
something.
Yeah, there was some issues with the DNA right there. Something went wrong with the chromosomes that but you're right though. Maybe he just took that Dr. Huxtable thing a little too serious. You know what I'm saying? He's at the house calling in scripts. This is Bill, and I want you, coming by to get some sedatives. You know, so,
now, Terry, you were telling me one time, a long time ago, that you performed, you opened for Cosby, right?
I opened for Bill at the Sunrise Theater in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In who knows, 19 something. You know, back then how you were getting those opening acts, man. And
wow.
Yeah, and so I was so excited, because now here's how I got the gigs. There was a club in Miami called Studio 183, Miami Nights, and so Black comedians, everybody who's listening, they know about Studio 183. Well, you know, promoters and things would come by the club to see, okay, can we get an opening act, so not only did I get a job opening for Cos, I got a job for opening up for Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Whoa.
I worked, you know, working at Studio 183. But anyway, back to the Cos story. So yeah, so I'm excited. I'm at the theater, man, at Sunrise Theater, and I'm like, yeah, man, the Cos, man. And I hadn't met him. I got there early. I think the show started at 7. I probably got there at 4. Because because you don't want to be, it's your first chance. And so I'm sitting where, and so I guess when his people came out, bodyguard or somebody came out and said, Mr. Cosby, like, talk to you for me. I was like, oh yeah, man. I'm on my way to Hollywood. And I walk in and I say, how you doing? And he said, now tell me what is your name? And I said, I'm Terry Tuff. I've never heard of you. I don't know who you are. I said, what? I said, oh, okay, I understand. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to do 7 to 10 minutes. I don't want no cursing. And then I want you to leave the stage, because if you don't, you'll never work again. And I'm like,
wow.
Player, come, my man. I just wanted to play some basketball, No, but it really messed me up because, of course, I idolized Pryor, but I enjoyed Cosby because I thought his timing on television was impeccable. I thought him and Red Fox on TV were impeccable when it came to their timing.
Sure. Their
stand-up was different for me, but I never expected him to say anything like that to me. I was a young comedian just trying to get started, man. And if I'd have been in his shoes and Champ walked in to me, I'd have been like, "Go get him, brother, young man.
Right.
You wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think you could do it." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you.
But it left it made an impression upon me.
Okay.
And so I'm not saying I'm happy he's in jail or anything like that. I'm not. I feel bad for him. But sometimes I tell my sons, be careful. Elevators go up, but elevators come back down too. And
sure.
And they stop on every floor coming back down. And the last thing you want to do is have somebody say, "Oh, it's you."
Right.
It's you. No, I'm not going down. I'll take the steps. I'm good. Don't worry. So, I still don't think he should. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Right. Yeah, that was deep, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, you and I, we had connected. We connected a couple years ago, and one of the things I talked to you about was, were you thinking about doing a all jokes reunion?
Yeah.
And where are you with that? Are you still open to that, or?
Yeah, I am. So I'm planning something for, I don't know what that looks like, August of this year, because that'll be the 30th anniversary of us opening our door.
Oh man.
So that's a perfect time to say, hey, we're going to do something again, and here's what we're going to do. And I'd like to have some kind of social mission to it. Like we getting together, but we also getting together to maybe change some things or use our platform in order to, I feel like we're at the period where, we all sort of need to come together, put our talent, skills, and abilities together to make this world a better place. And why not do it? And we always had a social conscience, so we were always doing things, right? But it's like, it just feels like, what a wonderful time. The way you said it was like, it does feel like, it was like family. I still talk to staff that I had at All Jokes. And several of them, because in the documentary, several of them were like, well, why was, you should have called me. I could have been in the doc. I'm gonna tell you one quick real story. There was a guy, I'll make this fast.
Take your time.
We had a tape player, essentially, because the comics would come with whatever music that they wanted to play. And it was just easier to control it by just saying, well, Terry's going to give you his music. It's already queued up. As soon as he'll tell you when you're supposed to hit it, when you're supposed to stop. He'll give you his closed music he want to go out on. And it's real simple and uniform. We don't need all that. But then with Def Jam, with Kid Capri, there was a little bit of pressure. People were like, man, I need some tables, won't you? And I'm like, nah, you know what I mean? We're going to keep this. Because if you don't show up, all I got to do is get a server,
That's right.
Get on the tape machine, hit stop, play. It ain't gonna be as good, but it'll be close enough.
Yeah.
There was a kid used to ask me. I found out later he was only 18 at the time, so he must have had a fake ID because we could copy the IDs for the application and everything, right? Every week almost. Yo, Ray, can I bring my tables in? I'm like, nah, we good on that. Just hit that stop, play, and we got it. It's straight. We not a music club. We comedy. That's all we do here.
Yeah.
So when I thought about this reunion, someone said, you should get a DJ, involved so for the music part of this, and we could do some house, maybe we do something around music and comedy together. And I got just the guy to call. And I was like, who? And they were like, this guy named Gene Hunt. He play all over the world. Ibiza, Germany, Berlin, Tokyo. He like the man. I'm like, really? They like, here. I'm like, Gene Hunt. I said, what he look like? He sent me the picture. It was that kid.
Was it?
It was that kid. And I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, do you want me to call him for you? I was like, yeah. I was just thinking, like, you don't know how tight we are. But yeah, go ahead, call him. In the meantime, I called him. He's like, Ray, what we doing? When we doing it? That whole family thing came back just like that. He's like, when you want me to be there, tell me the day. I'll be there. We're going to make this thing happen. It was just like, I was
That's
like,
funny, man. Did you tell me you can bring your tables this time, man? You can.
We're gonna have tables this time.
See, that's why we have to be careful as fathers and men, because you never know who your child's gonna grow up to be. You never know. That is so funny. Now, you were talking earlier about Bernie told you to get George Wilborn as the host of the MC. Do you stay in touch with George? I mean, because the last time I talked to George, he was on the Michael Baston show, and they were in DC, I think, or they were. But
I think he's doing something. Is it Mike Baston he's doing? I think they're doing something like NetWise. But I talked to him. He's George. He's still George.
G-Dub. Yeah, G-Dub.
He's still.
Is he still based in Chicago or?
No, he's been gone for a while. So I want to say he's either in New York or Atlanta, one of the two.
Yeah,
doing some kind of radio with Basden or it might be somebody else that was here a DJ at one point. I know he's on the air in some capacity.
Where's my hand? The stress reliever.
Right. He had that down.
Yeah, the stress reliever.
He had it. Yeah, it was good to have because, he was like an ambassador. He was like the mayor.
Oh, he was.
He made sure y'all were taken care of. Let
me tell you, George was the man in Chicago. Yeah. I mean, at that period, there was nowhere he couldn't go. Right. Especially in the black community where he wasn't known. I mean, he could get whatever he wanted whenever he wanted it, man. Yeah. G-Dub was a beast, man. Yeah, and he was funny. It wasn't like he was, wasn't funny. George was funny, and so.
And I had to manage that because, he only scheduled to do 15. Terry's coming. I only need you to do 5 to open, 2 minutes in between and get off. He's like,
yeah, that's hard.
He's like, what? I got 45 in me.
Yeah. It's like the first time I worked at Steve Harvey's club in Dallas, right?
Okay, yeah.
Beautiful club. And Steve was hosting.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was the headliner. And
he gave more time than you.
Oh, yeah, he introduced me 20 times. You know what I'm saying? Now coming to the stage, and then he go into another bit, and he finished that bit. Now coming to the stage is my man, and then he go into another bit, man. I'll be like, so finally when he introduced me, I was like, Steve, I mean, what do you want me to talk about, man? You have talked about everything. I don't, I know I'm funny, but I ain't got much, man. You did a HBO special. You know how Harvey is, man. You can't,
Yeah.
So
he's hard.
Yeah.
And he and Mary. So Mary was like an enforcer champ. So
yeah, she
and
was.
The fact that she was a woman, made it even that much more, So Steve would go over, and then we had to come up with what I'll call the between him and Joe Torre, it was like the Steve Harvey Joe Torre rule, which was we charge you $100 a minute for every minute you go over. So you can stay up there all night if you want to, but you're basically working for free.
Yeah.
So Mary would enforce it. And it was like, I know they don't know what to do with it because if it was me, it would have been a confrontation. It would have been like, mano kind of thing. But with her, they couldn't really deal with her. She was trained. I don't know if you knew this, Terry, but she came from the securities industry and she worked for a lot of traders. That's when they had traders in the pit in security. You see them calling out, 3,000. Those dudes it gets real hot and heavy and emotional in there. So you got to be really tough to deal with that. So when she came, she brought that attitude and it was helpful. Only one comic almost beat her up, like to the point where it was like an assault. And I had to talk. Then I had to get involved in talking. But I'm gonna tell you, that was Ricky Harris. You remember Ricky Harris?
Ricky Harris, God rest his soul, man. I know Ricky, man.
Yeah.
But see, it's when she charged him some extra money. She took some of his money or something.
It was like she was trying to give him instructions, but it was the way she was giving it to him. And I guess that day he wasn't really feeling that. He might even Ricky. I think about it, Ricky might have been in a gang or something. You know what I'm saying?
Ricky was no joke. But Mary had a way, Raymond, that she could get under your skin.
Yeah.
Real quickly. But the thing was, with me, I always said, okay, Mary's the one that always gives me my money, man. Mary was, so I didn't want to upset her because she handled the paper, and so, but I'd make little comments, but keep moving. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'd make tough. She was tough, and she could be, she could say things where you'd be like, hey, wait a minute now. But then
she would say it to me sometimes. I know she was talking to me.
Yeah, but then you say to yourself, you say to yourself, Mary's the paper has always been right. The paper has never been late, and every Monday because we work through Sunday, right? Didn't we work through Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
Monday morning, I walk right up the street to the bank. There was never any issues with my check. I'm like, I ain't gonna argue with Mary. It's like, hey, we were talking earlier, and this is a little off subject about comedy, but it's really not because we had talked about doing a golf tournament with
I still want to do that.
The All Jokes reunion. What is your thoughts on our boy Tiger Woods, man? He was just in an accident earlier this week, man. And
I told somebody, I was like, I want to take the keys from him, man. Like get a driver, man. Relax, do your thing. You don't need to be. I don't really care about the golf part.
Yeah.
Of course, I would like him to beat Nicholas so I can stop this ridiculous conversation. Is he the greatest? It's like, come on, man. Be for real. I just like, just find some peace, man. Like, you know what I mean?
I feel you, man. It feels like he's searching for something. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, when he has it all, but he really doesn't. I don't know.
And that's the part. It's like, I wonder, in thinking about that, it's like, it's your childhood, when you don't have that balance.
Yeah.
You get older and then your dad, it's like, it's tough, man. You got all, like you say, you got everything money can buy anyway. Power.
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah. Handsome. It's like, but there's something deep down in there. It's a problem. Yeah.
And maybe it is because he missed out on his childhood. I mean, because and I don't really know if he missed out on his childhood, but to become as great as he is, and to me, he is the GOAT.
For me too.
To become the GOAT, that means you have to spend all your time on your craft.
Totally.
You don't just become the GOAT because you have talent.
Right.
Talent is one thing. There were hundreds of people, of basketball players that were better than Michael Jordan.
Right. For sure.
But there wasn't hundreds who had the work ethic that he had.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And so the same thing with Tiger. He's got that work ethic, man.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think in that documentary, which was really good, and I think he was talking about who was he? He was talking about the left-handed golfer. His name just escaped
Phil
me.
Mickelson.
Yeah, and he was saying he used to be frustrated watching Phil because he's like, yo, this dude got all this talent, but he don't practice enough.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and it was like,
Yeah.
if he'd only practice, he probably could beat me.
Yep.
But he don't practice. And he was
ex-
angry. Like, you know, so you're right. To be the GOAT, you gotta,
Yeah.
it's an obsession, man.
But to be the GOAT, you got to sacrifice a lot. You have to
You do.
sacrifice, and that means when your friends are going to parties and your friends are going chasing after the girls, you got to go to the course. You got to go
Right.
practice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I pray for him.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know him. I haven't met Tiger. I'd love to, but
For sure.
the thing that really bugs me is that no matter what he does, anytime there's an issue, they bring up his issues that he had with women back. I mean, they tie that the media always looks for a way to tie his issues. I mean, yesterday I was watching, I think it was CNN, and they ran the whole clip where he apologized.
No.
Oh yeah. It started out with the accident scene. Like the dude's vehicle had just rolled down over the hill, and then they ended up with him at the microphone apologizing for having affairs. And I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with him? The man almost getting killed, man. When are you going to turn it loose, man?
I mean,
man. It's
people never forget the bad parts. They
That's
never
it.
forget that. That's
Yeah.
great.
That's it.
But like he's the first man that's had affairs. Like he's the first man that's cheated. He's not the first. He won't be the last. Actually, it's biblical. If you read in the Bible,
Right.
it's a woman is a man's kryptonite.
Right.
And I'm not making excuses for what he did. I'm just telling you.
I told my first divorce attorney that. Yeah.
What? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
my favorite, one of my favorite Terry Tuff jokes is when, because one thing, and I want to talk about this when we do this reunion, because one thing, I want to do some interviews and I'm going to talk about stuff that I liked that was always familiar to me. And then, you talk about all jokes or whatever you like. And I always, how a comedian opens their act, to me, usually tells me a lot about how good they are. Usually you can tell, like, it's good. That first couple minutes, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, then can they carry that all the way through? It's real important. So you used to do this bit about, you would come up and it was like, you were like really sad. And it was like, people weren't expecting it because they were like, they came to laugh, to have some fun. It was real melancholy. And it was like, so yeah, what's up, y'all? And everything. Yeah, that's cool. And then start bringing them down. They like, well, what's up with this one? It's like, me and my girlfriend broke up or something. And then it was like we broke up and all the women were like, oh, that's terrible. And you went into this whole thing about, I loved her. We traveled together. We ate at the best restaurants. I thought she loved me. We was doing this for 10 years. And they were like, they were feeling bad. Do you like the only person happy about it is my wife?
So see, that's
you remember that bit?
Yeah, that's before side pieces became the norm. It was it's cool to write about a side piece now, but back then I was taking some chances.
Man, that bit always got me. The crowd always, they were so on your side.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I can see it, yeah. But you make a very valid point, and every comedian will probably agree with this. The first couple minutes of a show is the most important, because that you're establishing who you are and your style. So you got that, because you can lose them just as quick as you can gain them in those first couple minutes. And so it is imperative when you take the stage that, one, you're in control, and and that you have a funny bit. It doesn't have to be a killer bit.
Right.
But it's a relaxing bit. They're like, oh yeah, my man, you got, and then you build on them. You work them, And so, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been so long. I haven't, I was young writing stuff, man, because I love to write. Writing is one of my favorite things, man. And so
that's good. That was.
But yeah, so speaking of writing, you got a book.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So with the documentary, it was 85 minutes, and it was hard to tell 10 years of story in 85 minutes. And I kind of wanted to tell a little bit before the club, where I grew up, stuff like that. And then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then, the issues were. And, then, more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issues were. And, then more deeper into what happened in the end and what the issu So it's on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. Should have a copy of it. It's called All Jokes Aside. Stand-up comedy is a funny business.
So, and you can get that on Amazon right now.
Yep, you can get that on Amazon.
All right.
Yeah,
well, Ray, I tell you, just having you on the show, man, just brings back so many fond memories. It's so many. Sometimes memories aren't great, and you don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I do not have one bad memory of working in Chicago or Detroit, for All Jokes aside.
Appreciate it.
There was never any time you say, well, my money was late, or my plane ticket was late, or that hotel room sucked, or it was the limo. You never. There was nothing to complain about ever, because
cool.
everything was top notch. It was top level. There's not any comedian who worked there will tell you the same thing. If they don't, they're lying. if they don't, they never worked there.
Right. Okay. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And so I would love to be involved to
yes, sir.
We're gonna do reunion.
It. Yeah.
Yep. And so I just want to thank you for taking time. I know you're a busy brother, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
You know that. I will always love you.
I love you too, man.
Absolutely. And so we will get together. We will work on this reunion. Hopefully we'll put a golf tournament together.
Yep.
And Champ, anything you want to say to Ray before he rolls out?
Hey, definitely want to thank you for laying the groundwork, setting the foundation that so many have followed and built upon. The both of you guys have just done great things for younger Black comics, and it's appreciated. I also want to throw out a thank you to someone who did some graphics for us for the show, Brother Alvin Sloan. So when you see those promos, you see those videos for Tuff Talk Live, watch it every Thursday. Special thanks to Al.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Any closing remarks, Ray? Anything you want to leave with?
I'm just happy, man. So I'm, whenever you call, and I know you call me, I'm like, I got to call Terry, see what's happening, because whatever he need me, I'm there without question, and I'm excited to do this again, man. We're gonna do this.
I appreciate it. Stay safe, Ray Lambert. I love
you, man.
All right, we'll be in touch soon. All right, my man.
Sounds good, man. All right, peace.
Absolutely. Champ, another great show. Thank you so much for everything. We will do this again next Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great guest next week. We got comedian Earthquake. Quake will be in the house next week, next Thursday, 6 p.m.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it. Tuff Talk Live. It's all about the comedy. Later.